Chapter 21 Case File SI10 Chapter Justice Hornet Nest. On Najima's side, she ordered Dong Tai to trace the movements of Tarn's group in the forest. GPS's signal from the tracker attached to the flash drive was lost intermittently and ultimately unmoved at some location in the forest. When checking with the satellite imagery, it showed that the area was a mining company. They bit the hook we set, Ajima smiled calmly. The plan they'd crafted had worked out successfully. The rest is to go on the field for the search, which is hard to accomplish because they weren't assigned to this task. Kim entered their temporary DSI office that the local police had provided them. The tall, Chinese-looking man strode in with a paper file that contained police officers' profiles. He handed it to Ajima. "What is this?" Ajima took it in bafflement. She skimmed through without looking closely at the details, and only found names and police officer profiles. Kem loosened the tie around his neck and explained to Ajima. "I think I knew who sent the second file to us." "Who?" Kem beamed widely, gazing at Ang Tai and switched back to Ajima, eyes sparkling. "Our homie, Chart. He has just been stationed here, but now he was suspended, so we didn't see him at the PD." Yes, he had done something out of his assignment, so he got a suspension. Chart was always a hothead, an upright hardliner who'd rather break than bend. When he came across something that wasn't right, he would have rashly responded to it and got a serious warning. Tong Tai burst into relieved laughter. They didn't keep in touch for quite a while because they were constantly busy working on cases. Glad to know that he was still the same. He knew best of being his own troublemaker. Ajima closed the file in her hand. "Call him in to temporarily join our team then." "Yes," Cam responded before pressing a call to Chart. When the other end said, "You kept me hanging for so long before you finally called me," it brought a big smile to Cam's face. It means he knew something interesting. So, why didn't he contact them first? What's the point of being secretive? Cam murmured inwardly before handing over the phone for Thong Tai to discuss the information with Chart by himself. "Captain, someone in the line wants to talk to you." An officer walked in to inform Achima. She nodded in acknowledgement and ordered Kem and Thong Tai to take care of the rest, and she would follow a sergeant to the superintendent's room. The wall of his room was made of glass, where people on the other side of the mirror could see into the room, and the people in the room could see out. The design aimed to keep both superiors and subordinates well behaved and focused on work. "There you are. Your father is on the line." Superintendent Chanachai lifted his gaze while flashing a sly smile to Jima. She didn't bother asking, though, only stretched out to pick up the phone on Superintendent Chanachai's desk. "Please feel free. I'll wait outside." Ajima watched the plump man's back without saying a word. Once she saw him leave and close the door in a courteous manner, Ajima lifted the phone to her ear. "Yes, Dad."
"Step away from the case."
The harsh, bass, powerful voice ordered with a dark tone. Ajima listened, intensively dissatisfied. Her emotion was a turmoil of distraught. Ajima asked, couldn't believe her ear. "Excuse me?"
"I said step away from this case."
"Dad, this is the case that the superior assigned me to do."
"What did they assign you to do, Som? They only assigned you to find the clue. But you're doing what you were assigned."
Ajima's brows knotted at high. "This is what I'm assigned to do. I'm doing my best on my duty."
"The best on your duty is going to throw your crew into trouble. Step away from the case. Back to Bangkok and work on a new one. I've got my people to prepare a new case for you."
Ajima squeezed on the phone stiffly and blinked away the heat from the eye sockets. No! She insisted and went on. I won't step back from this case so easily. Why, Dad? Why do you want me to step back? What are you scared of? You're scared that my team and I will stumble on the honestness like
Some.
Dad, you knew me, didn't you? Until I have the criminal under arrest, I won't back down.
Do you want to die like your mother that much?
When I was young, I didn't understand why mom needed to devote herself so much like that. But now, Hajima inhaled deeply. I understand why mom couldn't let go of it. Both her mom and dad were police, the esteemed ones, and were renowned for their integrity and skills. Ajima's mother once supervised and investigated a narcotics case until she uncovered crucial evidence. Tragically, she was killed in a car accident. Her father, however, knew that it wasn't an accident, but he couldn't do anything to the person behind it due to his lack of power.
Some. We should stick with things within our reach. Don't do something too extreme, my dear.
Her father sounded softened. Ajima swallowed thick saliva down her throat, closed her eyes, and answered with a trembling, bitter voice. We've only done things within our reach for too long, Dad. It had been too long that the criminals were brash and committed crimes so vile as if they were contemptuous of the law.
You crave being a hero to your death, don't you?
No! What I do isn't about being a hero for anyone to admire. It's simply the right thing to do. I can't stand this unrighteousness any longer, Dad. If this unrighteousness persisted, she and her team couldn't hold their heads high with pride in their careers. Suddenly, the montage of Narong, her first case as suspect, flashed back to her mind. His last question had a hit hard to her mind.
Detective, you think to work in this occupation makes you a hero? You may not see yourself that way, but during the hard time, this is how citizens out there think of you. You're not going to ruin the citizens' hope, are you?
She was neither a hope nor a hero, but if she turned blind and chose to back away, she would instantly turn into a villain. Hence, running wasn't her option since she didn't believe that her action would throw the team into hot water. Oh, if one would be thrown into hot water from this, it would be that party who would writhe to death as if someone were setting a fire under their cozy armchair. Dad, I think it's time for us to fulfill our responsibilities as police officers to the best of our ability. She knew why her father was afraid of that dark force. Even though it used to be what he most abhorred, he had no choice but to unwillingly bow to it. Moreover, he was scared that she and Singh would meet a tragic end like their mother. But Ajima wasn't scared. A fire of valor was pushing her to do the right thing. Even if it would send her 6 feet under, she committed to dragging them to the grave with her. If you were afraid that my brother and I would be in danger, then just support us from afar and see how we end this game. Because let me tell you something, I'll never lose. She had thought to withhold it at first, but when digging down further, it happened to have something relevant to the powerful figure in the area, including that man. It wasn't easy to have evidence made out plainly in front of her. When such a golden opportunity landed at her feet, how could Ujima let it slip away?
So, you will carry on anyhow?
Yes,
Are you sure? Because it won't be only me to call you to step back.
Dad, you're too naive for the modern world today. This is the 21st century. Even though people your age try to block me, I still find a way to stoke the fire. Don't ever look down on the technology called social networks. Ajima curled up a smirk at the corner of her mouth and twirled around to look out the window. Watching those uniformed underlings encircled Superintendent Janet Chai and felt slightly pathetic. Fairly a large group of ass-kissers trying to lick his boots. No wonder she couldn't find any helping hand for her team from this police department. I guess we're done here. Take care, Dad, and try to stay away from his people. I'm afraid that you'll be affected by that. She hung it up from her father and walked off the room to thank Superintendent Shanachai. Thank you for letting me use the phone, sir.
The pleasure is all mine. We're close acquaintances. Well, are you going to fly back today? I have someone to prepare everything.
Azima slightly scoffed as she lifted her gaze to Shanachai. Fly back? Who told you that I would fly back today? Shanachai's smile wiped off and revealed a confused expression.
Yes?
Shanachai unveiled his perplexed expression. I'll keep carrying the mission. Please prepare your people for me. I'll be on the field in a moment.
But you're not assigned to go on the field.
Hajima flashed a green grin. I've received a new order to go on the field and give my best. Chanachai tightened his brows and cast a dissatisfied look fleetingly before fabricating a strained smile.
Yes. Please rest assured, Captain. I'll choose my best men for you.
Yes, choose his best man for her. Huh, more like choosing the best man for himself. But that's okay. No matter who they send her way, Ajima won't be swayed. For her, it was just another formality. She had no intention of relying on them. The forest team, on the other hand, had decided to return to the village today, with Kampor and Portao leading the way. However, they were all awaiting Shalatorn's confirmation on whether Tarn can travel with them.
How is he, Doctor?
Yai instantly asked when he saw Shalatorn walk out along with Paya, who was now in a fresh set of clothes. Both remained tense expressions, which wasn't due to the concern about Tarn's condition. Instead, it was a personal issue between them.
No worries. But Tarn still needs to rest for a few days so that he's fit to travel. What about if we make a stretcher to carry him out?
Since they had experienced carrying lugs before, Singh thought carrying a friend shouldn't be much trouble.
I figure it would still be risky, but it should be done. Plus, we should ask the patient well himself.
Yai and Singh discussed through their eyes before agreeing to ask Tarn in person. They were scheduled to return today together with the rest of the team. The mission was half completed, but was still considered impressive. For the environmentalist team, they would have a discussion about what should be done for the samples they had lost. Haya watched Yai, and Singh walked into the tent to talk to Tarn. He then switched his gaze to Shalatorn.
I have something to talk to you.
Shalatorn flashed a sardonic smile.
Talk? Do we have anything to talk to each other, Mr. Chadayu? Yes, especially the thing that you did to Tarn. That red mark. You did it, right, Mr. Shalatorn?
Eyes to eyes locked to one another. Those glints cast the frigid cold intermingled with the feud. Haya only wished to make a clear ending. He didn't want Shalatorn to approach Tarn ever again. In the meantime, he could see through what lay under the other person's gaze. Shalatorn wouldn't stop. He wouldn't stop until he could take Tarn back with him. But Paya wouldn't let him either.
What's that?
Shalatorn asked coldly before leading Paya away from the tent. They stopped behind a rock pile that was large enough that it could hide themselves away.
I want you to stop.
Shalatorn highly arched his eyebrow and then burst out a laugh.
Stop? What do you want me to stop? Stop hurting Tarn.
Paya's tone was crisp. After thinking it through, Tarn's lifespan, ESP, and his parents' issues that they couldn't be together. It might have been Shalatorn who was behind everything. Shalatorn's expression turned to a stone cold one.
What I did isn't to hurt him. I'm just bringing Vasa back home. You knew how much she had suffered from you. So why did you still want to keep her with you? To love you? Don't make me laugh. If it isn't because of Van Visa, will you be awakened to your love for her by yourself?
Haya clenched his jaw. The open palms slowly folded into the tight fists. His heart hurt as if someone was piercing it with a knife. Charlotte was right, but only half of it.
Then, did you know why Van Visa did it so?
Seeing the lull, no response was made from Charlotte. Haya was the one who laughed.
If it isn't because of me in the previous life who prayed for it, she wouldn't do that either.
You,
The past memories and the pain of having to part from Tarn in every lifetime are tattooed here, in my heart. The more I learn, the clearer why Tarn left me so soon. It's all because of you.
the memories of his recent life before he met Tarn in this form was he entered the monkhood for Tarn after apprehending his love, only to find that Tarn had died from the grief of loving him. This sorrow pushed him into monastic life, to meet Tarn's Luangpu, to meet Van Visa. That was when he came to understand that the reason for Tarn's departure was this man, the one standing right before him. He missed the chance to tell Tarn the word love, which Tarn had longed to hear. When Paya came up with this thought, both resentment and hostility surged within him. He clenched his jaw so tightly that his chin shook. His eye sockets were aflame with red on the rims, casting a reproachful, accusing glare at Shalatorn. Shalatorn's eyebrows twitched. His gleaming stare locked onto Paya as though he wished for Paya's last breath. The one to blame was Paya, but Paya blamed it on him.
I can't stand the sight of her suffering by you. What have you ever done for her? For all those times, she was there by your side to protect the one you loved until her demise.
When she was born as a man, your compadre, she protected you and your love from the enemies until she faced a deadly neck slash. She once was even a quadruped beside you. She was a beast born because of you, but you still took her for granted.
What you did is you just want to repay what you have done wrong for Bassarat, and you just knew you had loved her when it was too late. Once you had been released from your ascetic confinement to find that she wasn't very happy in her relationship, you made it as your lame excuse to take her back.
Shalatorn fiercely gnashed his teeth. The gleaming eyes of the mortal now turned into the bloody red ones of the reptile.
Don't judge what you don't really know. You're nothing but selfish. It's obvious that Tarn and I love each other.
She promised to be with me for the rest of her life. She must keep her promise she had given to him.
But Bazarat is not the same anymore. She doesn't love you.
Shalatorn's patience snapped. He advanced to throw a fist at Paya, and the other person staggered back. Paya shook off the stun, then darted to return the punch until Shalatorn almost fell over, and lunged to grab at the person's collar. Shalatorn glared at him with gleaming eyes. Two hands grabbed on Paya's collar just the same. The glare locked on one another. Neither yielded. Once the two raised their fists and were ready to blow again, Tarn's voice erupted. Paya! Timur! Are you around here? Both men drew back from one another and followed the sound. They saw Tarn standing near that rock pile. Paya swiftly strode toward Tarn. The word tinged his voice.
You're still hurt. Why are you out here?
Haya complained with a stern tone. He got hurt that much, but still walked around like nothing happened. Tarn was unbelievable. Tarn laughed. Poor Tao has good medicine. Just take a few of them. I'm better and capable of walking. Haya wrinkled his brows as he scrutinized the slim man as he didn't buy those words that much. Tarn still looked pale and pallid. Tarn revealed a broad smile to Paya and switched his gaze to Shalatorn.
We're ready to start our journey.
Let's go. Tarn nodded, handed out to reach Paya's arm to support his walking. Paya knitted his brow. Tarn's hand was icy cold.
What's the matter? You feel sick? Your hand is so cold.
Tarn faintly smiled and shook his head in denial. He changed the topic, rushing Paya to join everyone else fast, fearing that the journey would be delayed and that they couldn't find accommodation. Paya nodded in acknowledgement and didn't take much notice of Tarn, who was alternately stealing glances at him and Shalatorn in silence. Tarn lowered his gaze to the other hand that gripped the magic monadinium that Portao had given him so hard that his fist trembled. What was that all about? The magic monodinium is a sacred item from the author's imagination, crafted from the monodinium plant and possessing the magical power to veil oneself. Its common name, Paya Nakarati tree, can be translated to King of Naga in Thai due to the plant's appearance that resembles a serpent. The DSI team, Ajima, Kim, and Dong Tai set an appointment to meet Chart at a traditional restaurant. Chart looked horrible, to say the least. His face was weary, his eyes drained, and his clothes all wrinkled. He looked more like a smuggler than a police officer. Are you sure this is your friend? Ajima asked to make sure, looking at Chart from head to toe for scrutinizing. Chart didn't look like a police in any respect. Chart couldn't care less about the obviously affronted look from the female captain. The young man pulled out the chair and plunged himself onto it. Cam asked,
Eat what? Beer.
Chart answered with a lackluster tone. He lifted his hands to stroke his face before letting out a sigh. After being suspended, his professional life seemed to go downhill. The evidence he had gathered was seized, and every trace vanished as if nothing had ever been found. Better get fresh water or soda instead, Ajima told Chart, tone grave. Cam nodded and turned around to order it by the waiter. Seeing his friend's condition, Long Tai couldn't help but probe in curiosity. What happened to you? You look totally screwed up. Chart tightly clenched his jaw and hammered his fist onto the table.
I thought after training I would have been based somewhere nice. Instead, the superiors sent me to a shitty, good for nothing place. It looked good at first. They let me find the proof evidence, this and that. But the evidence I've found, they took it all away.
Chart vented what was on his mind in a fury.
I worked hard to find the evidence and handed it to them out of my stupidity.
Chart felt vengeful. He worked on finding clues for this case for months and made quite a lot of progress, but their underlings took all those clues and destroyed them.
Keep your shirt on.
Deng Tai stroked Chart's shoulder to comfort him. The waiter brought him water from the joint. Chart took it and chugged loudly. Looks like we have uninvited guests following you here, Ajima voiced after having a glimpse at two men who were stealing glances at them periodically. Chart thudded a glass onto the table.
They've done it for many months already.
Tell me what you have found.
Ha! Yes, I might have already known it. About who owns that area and who is relevant to this matter.
He knew a thing or two of what information the TSI had gotten. But we don't have evidence that's strong enough to conclude that he has something to do with it. They had no choice but to have him caught in the act.
I've gotten crucial evidence, but it was taken away. I can't do anything much lately. Just to risk myself sending the files to you, I could barely survive.
Chart said solemnly, breathing out to get the tension off his chest. They have been following him in every step, and today's matter must have been something that they knew. Even though it's gone, we'll find it again, Ajima said with a smile before winking at Dong Tai and explaining to him in a low voice.
I successfully hacked into their database.
He did it while they had no specific information they wanted to know. However, among the chemical purchase orders and other equipment, some items weren't included on the company's purchase list. Furthermore, there were actually the precursors for narcotics. Now, we only need to fan the flames about the mining company dumping chemicals into the environment so that the environmentalist group will call out for their responsibility. Let's also embellish a little more that he's involved in this. Ajima added, If we kept this investigation low-key, it would only be brushed aside. Someone like Ajima never did anything quietly, especially when it came to a matter that she felt that it needed to be blown wide open to make them burn more than the infernal flames on their own armchairs. Now, the likes and the shares are more than 10K. Soon enough, the reporters must go on the field to ask the folks, said Wang Tai. Chart looked at the DSI team in awe. I was right to send the information to you. Such a sharp, effective team that acts fast. Too bad that he couldn't make it until he finished the curriculum. You also have your credit in this matter, Chart. Without you, we might still be finding a needle in a haystack. Cam didn't want Chart to sink in his past failure for too long. He should find a new life and a new way to move on. Chart unfurled a smile and nodded in acknowledgement before lowering his voice into a whisper. After eating, is there a private place where we can talk without being overheard? There's a place. Chart's house. Ajima smiled, speaking in a low voice as slow as a whisper. Everybody exchanged their nods in contentment. Once the food was served, they pushed the work matter aside and then started having dinner together without bringing up any other serious topic. Nirasuksawat House. Tarn, Haya, Yai, Singh, and Shalatorn arrived at Nirasuksawat's house in pretty worn-out condition. Until they could finally clear everything to be in order, it got their heads spinning, making their journey longer than they had planned. Hence, the department's meeting needed to be postponed to the evening. However, they found many shoes in front of the door once they returned. Tarn could sense something bad. "You're back?" Tarn's mother's expression looked so much better now. She walked up to give Tarn a hug and drew back. "I've heard you've got injured." "I'm alright, Mom. Just a little injury that only takes a few days to recover." The mother suddenly smiled, her eyes still clearly cast a worry, but she didn't want to trouble her son, so she quit hassling him. "You may be exhausted from the journey. Let's have dinner. I have some uncooked many dishes waiting for you," Ravi One said in a soothing voice before leading everyone to the dining room. "We have guests?" Haya asked on behalf of everyone. Ravi One's smile wiped off her face, looking at everyone with a troubled expression. "Yes, we have a guest. He is talking to Captain Tom." The team traded their gazes without saying anything but quickened their pace to the dining room. Once they walked in, they saw a chubby man with the familiar face on the TV talking to Ajima joyfully. Everybody paused. "Mr. Montry?" "Darn. I heard you worked on a case with the environmentalist team in the forest. How was it?" Mr. Montry asked, with a smile painted across his face. Tarn didn't answer. His face was turned before descending himself to sit next to his grandmother while the others scattered to the vacant seats. "Didn't expect to see Mr. Montry at all. What brings you here?" Tarn asked impassively. "I've heard that Gal was sick, so I am here for a visit." Finishing his reply, Mr. Montry turned around to smile at Tarn's mother. Tarn grinned coldly without any further words while Ajima took the chance to ask about the mine. "I heard your mining company is getting some bad press on TV. How is it?" Montry laughed, lifting a glass to sip before answering with laughter. "I don't know much about it, even though I'm a partner.
I barely come to see the work at the company. But after having the issue, I'm here to observe. If you have any complaints, please let me know, and I'll bring every complaint to the table for improvement. Tarn twisted his mouth. Improve? Or taking those complaints to conceal? We're not an environmentalist team, so I'm afraid we can't answer. But on the day that the experts go on the field, we'd like to join them. Can you give us a permission? Montre feigned a thoughtful face before revealing a smile with sparkling eyes. There was no room for suspicion. It would be my pleasure. Having you join them is good. So, we have a lot of eyewitnesses. After listening, Ajima beamed whitely with her eyes gleaming. The merry atmosphere filled with the tinged scent of a sleeping volcano in the air. After dinner, Mr. Montre excused himself while the others separated to rest. Only the DSI team still needed to discuss the case. Even though we go on the field, it's no use. They evaded. They might have already destroyed the narcotics factory. Singh assumed. We have to go anyway. We'll be separated into two teams. The first group follows the reporters, and the second group sneaks in to examine the place. Ajima ordered in a calm tone. She is trying to figure out the next step in her head. What's your next plan, Captain? Seeing Ajima's confident demeanor, Kaya couldn't help asking out of curiosity. Nothing. I can't come up with it yet. Captain, are we going to make it? If we found nothing, it would be a massive embarrassment. Kem wailed. He had already trusted in the captain's confidence wholeheartedly. Are you sure that Mr. Montree has relevance to this matter? Chart turned around to Tarn and answered it himself. Even though there is no evidence, I witnessed that he has some involvement because I saw it with my own eyes. You saw he was there? Despite the fact that Tarn didn't like Montree, as he thought he might have some involvement in Tarn's previous case, he couldn't find anything obviously linking to Montree. So to speak, he fell into the same situation as Chart, but he couldn't be as confident as Chart because he had never seen it right before his eyes. No, but I saw his close secretary was there. Can Montree swear to God that he didn't know about it? Singh, sunk in deep thought, raised the point. We have to catch him in the act. There must be some time they met, were together, or did something with one another. They surely must have met one another sometime. Can we check from the database? Documents, phone calls, internet usage, CCTV. Kaya asked Thong Tai. Thong Tai bulged his cheek and let out a sigh. I'll try. It may be used as supportive evidence, but it couldn't be solid proof evidence against him. There are many people having their hands in this matter. We have to carefully investigate. Even though we failed to get the culprit this time, we can't just cover the sky with one hand. If they couldn't arrest him for drug trafficking, getting him on environmental charges was still a partial win for the team. Ajima caught exhausted expressions from everyone, so she said to finish the meeting. Well, let's call it a day. We'll continue it tomorrow morning. For Tarn, you're still injured. I'll allow you to take a rest day. But, no but, follow my order. Scatter now. Copy. End of chapter 21.